Welcome to Bare Bones. With your host, Danny Meehan and Dr. Mason West.
Welcome into this episode of Bare Bones. I am Mason West and joined as usually Danny Meehan. Danny, how you doing?
I'm pretty good, Mason. How about yourself?
You know what? Doing what I can to get excited about a game that should have had different connotations.
Yeah, the context of this game means a whole lot less. Instead of talking about like, oh, if you win this game, you're solidly in the wild card race. Now you're talking about you're trying to just salvage the season, it feels like, right?
Yeah, and the definition of salvage the season, I think, is very different for different people. You know, some people are going to go as far as, hey, if the Bears lose the Patriots game, we're guaranteed Eberflus is fired on Monday, right? And it's like, no, that's not what this is. And you're also captain. You don't root for games kind of thing. So I know your take on this is going to be in particular, but like for me too, it's just like, I just want to see success from certain portions of this team. Specifically, I want Caleb to continue to progress and to look like an NFL quarterback, which over the last 2 games, that's been a little funky.
Yeah, he's been not good, to put it. He has moments, but then there's the really weird DJ Moore thing. I don't know what's going on there. Like, I thought initially with the whole thing where I thought he tweaked his ankle when he went to the sideline thing. Turns out it might not have been that. It might have just been like us kind of coping. I don't know if that we're ever going to get the full true story about it because only DJ knows the truth. I think we're at the point now where we can just kind of call Shane Waldron what he is. There's a reason why Seattle wasn't upset to lose him.
Well, and apparently you're hearing things more like that, even if that whole Pete Carroll thing hadn't happened, right? Like where there's a quote unquote mutual parting of ways with Pete Carroll, and that's why Waldron was available. Apparently, if Pete stuck around, it sounds like Waldron would have been released from his duties. So
anyway,
yeah,
it was almost like they let him save face.
And, unfortunately, that aids the Bears getting sold a false bill of goods. But we're getting into our chart review, get over some topics.
I'm with you today.
Oh, yeah, I'm having, what is this? Drive-through meatballs. The franchise expands to Idaho. It's a double Indiana Pale Ale. Double India. I can't say Indiana. From Pipeworks. What do you have?
I've got the New Holland Ichabod Pumpkin Ale. So New Holland, obviously most famously known for Dragon's Milk and all their iterations of that. Yeah. This is their very good pumpkin ale. It's not quite as strong as like a Schlafly or anything where the pumpkin is very pronounced. This is more subtle. It's more like, I guess, notes of nutmeg and cinnamon versus like just pumpkin in your face.
My mother would be very happy. She absolutely loves pumpkin beers. This is her time of year. Couple of tidbits to get through here in our chart review. First off, the Bears were present at the trade deadline. They traded Khalil Herbert to the Bengals for a 2025 7th rounder. It's a rental for the Bengals. Herbert was in a contract year, and people liked to freak out about his tweet saying, thank you, God. And apparently that just means the culture in the Bears locker room is absolutely abhorrent. Not that I'm denying that it's abhorrent, but I don't think that the tweet has anything to do with that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I also think there was also a faction of Bears fans that think I saw a number of tweets and I heard a number of even people that I work with or know thinking that he's going to go there and just start in Cincinnati. Like, do you understand how good Chase Brown has been since taking that role by the throat? Like, he's been good. Like he's not just good. He's going to get touches, I think, but he was also buried here. He has no purpose here.
Yeah.
Like, no.
I mean, aside of time and time again, I think Khalil was still probably the best pure runner that was on the team. Unfortunately, when you factor in lack of special teams usage, when you factor in his pass blocking or lack thereof, his pass catching, and also apparently Shane Waldron just didn't really like him all that much, which take that for what you will in terms of whether that's an indictment or not. He just didn't have a role, and so you get what you can, which is a 7th-round pick.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other way to go about it. Like he's not going to probably get a big contract or anything, and the Bears really kind of signed some iteration of him last year in Keontae Foreman, guy who's just when he's on the field, he's an immediate tell. You can be a great player for what you're good at, but also very flawed. And unfortunately, I think that's the bucket that Khalil falls into.
Yeah. A couple other tidbits. Wednesday, the Bears promoted defensive back Amir Speed, former Patriot, from the practice squad, and signed old friend Darrington Evans, running back, to the practice squad. Bears have also signed safety J.T. Woods to the practice squad. He was a 3rd pick by the Chargers in 2022. Sounds like cornerback Jalen Jones with a shoulder will likely head to injured reserve. It's a pretty tough blow as Jones has been good on special teams this season. And then also go to IR, Andrew Billings with that chest pec injury. I mentioned Jalen Jones, and then the signing of J.T. Woods. Tavarius Moore also signed to the active roster.
Yay! It's a lot of the most meaningful move in that whole just cavalcade of small things that happened is them putting Billings on IR.
Yeah,
because he's a good player. He would at times wreck shop and make his presence felt. And they really don't have a true run defender interiorly now. Best one. Billings was their best one at it, and he's gone now.
Yeah, I mean, they already had their problems defending the run. We saw that literally last Sunday against the Cardinals, as you had 3 different tiers of running back just run all over you. And now that run defense got worse. And Billings not only was a part of that run defense, but he had stepped up his game as a pass rusher. He was able to get some pressure, and now there's a big hole. The depth at interior defensive line was already an issue. You had some small bodies in there, and now it's just like, now what?
It's amazing how much the last 2 weeks has made you feel a certain type of way.
It is so different. It's funny, like you could use this stream as an example right now. You look, and there are approximately 5 live viewers here right now. Hi you 5. You go back just 2 weeks previewing the Commanders, or I don't know about the Commanders, but excuse me, even previewing the Cardinals. If you go back 3 weeks before that, previewing that game, the London game, 200-300 people.
Yeah, and even like the bye week show Jacob and I did together while you were at Disney. I think we had over 1,000 streamers.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, Jacob's got an outsized following. He's one of the biggest personalities on social media that Second City Gridiron and Windy City Gridiron has. But it just shows like how people were feeling for just a blip in time. And now it's
gone.
The wind has been fully taken out of the sails. Yeah.
But we are here for you 5 people listening live, and all the people who may listen to this tomorrow as on your commutes to and from work. All right, we got a couple quotes to get to. I want your thoughts on them. Eberflus on Caleb Williams' high sack numbers through 9 games. By the way, there's 29. Sacks are an everybody thing. Says you can't put it into on one thing, but that they need to work together to fix it.
He's not wrong. That's a very nice way of putting it. Caleb, long and short, has to be better. Unfortunately, the offense does not have any built-in easy buttons. And on top of that, he's had a couple of Fieldsian or Trubisky-like sacks where it's just like he's just got to get rid of the ball. On the other hand, sometimes the only time the offense moves, similar to when it was like, it's in a completely different fashion, but we're always going to have the frame of reference of Justin, right? When was the offense moving at times? When Justin was just making shit happen. And that was with his legs more times than not. But it's so frustrating because what is it? We've had 2 straight weeks now where he's being pressured on greater than 42% of dropbacks. It's not a way to live in the NFL, guys.
It's not.
And he's starting to develop the worst habit I see quarterbacks have. He's seeing and feeling pressure that's not there. It's clear. Even like, and then on top, again, we're at as good as the weapons are supposed to be. How many times are we going to see a ball hit someone in the hands and just fall harmlessly to the ground? Shouts out to Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze. Like, at a certain point, playmakers got to make plays.
This is maybe more of a sidebar. I can live with the occasional Rome mistake just as a rookie. Like,
sure,
that happens. I'm okay with that. You, Keenan Allen, were specifically brought here to be a safety blanket, and I don't know why you're letting a ball get to your pads. Like, why is it hitting you in the chest? That I am not okay with. That is your job.
Yeah, and a guy who was brought in here to be, like you said, the safety blanket, but a guy who historically, even on high volume, is very sure-handed, he was supposed to be like the thing you could count on most in this offense. Like, hey, you need 5 yards. Keenan's going to be there for you. And it just doesn't feel it. And that's partially because we now know Keenan's running the highest average depth of target in his career. I believe the number was 11.2 yards per route run. Mm-hmm. Like, that's not his game. You're trying to make this guy a deep threat when he's supposed to be really a slot receiver working in the short and intermediate areas at this point of his career. And he was never a good athlete to begin with. He was always more of a football player than he was an athlete.
Absolutely. All right.
God.
We also... I was curious.
Sorry.
No, I was curious if that... no, I was seeing if he had a rasp, but he didn't. Caleb Williams commented on his accuracy issues, which we know has been a thing, especially on the deep ball. Not being accurate, not being on time with things is frustrating because that's kind of been my thing. We saw this at USC. He adds, we'll get there. I'll get there. It starts with me. In your opinion, why has, especially on the deep ball, but we're seeing it filter in at times to some of the intermediate routes, not as much the short ones. The short ones he's been pretty consistent on. Where is this accuracy issue coming from?
Well, it can be parts of 3 or 4 things, can't it? I think it's partially because there's really no layups built into this system. Like, it's all like the quickest. We spoke about it on the post-game show a few days ago, right? The most consistent thing you see in this offense is quick outbreaking routes. Those are fairly easy to sit on because the only way to really make those work is if you're on time. There's not a ton of like flares or like button hooks or quick slants. It's a lot of just outbreaking stuff. And I don't know why that is. I think it could also be Caleb's still getting used to NFL open and NFL speed. And I think the other part of it is, like, which is the one that I'm most wondering about, which we're never going to get the answer because he's never going to say it or admit to it. I wonder how much of it is just he's adjusting to confidence and understanding that he can do this with regularity. It so much feels like he's aiming and not throwing. Like, good deep ball throwers connect on 45 to 50%.
Yeah.
They're not high percentage shots. But even some of the stuff you're starting to see him miss on in the intermediate, which is where he was really good for a couple week stretch there, albeit against bum defenses, is just not there with regularity. It's like like I said, aiming, not throwing. It's like the same thing as like when you see a guy who's a shooter in the NBA, like, and a good shooter, but he's in a slump, let's say. And instead of just shooting the rhythm 3, he takes that extra dribble to try to reset his feet, even though he's a rhythm shooter. And it's on line, but it's short or it's long. It's short or it's long. It's like he's just not finding the bucket with the regularity he would normally find it. It's the only way I can describe it because it's actually somewhat similar.
And I think when you see some of like the intermediate misses, you can go back to that Cardinals game. There was one where he missed DJ Moore, and it was because he ended up, his feet were not perfectly set, but at the same time, he tried dropping his arm and doing one of those funky arm angles, and it just rose on him and took off to the right. that's why you drafted him too, because he can do that. But at the same time, when that's what you have to do because of pressure that was coming in, or just the false pressure sometimes, as you're talking about, because he's, hearing those footsteps, that's going to come into play. You also look at Doug Analytics tweeted out at Doug_Analytics. How often does each QB attempt to pass 20 plus yards downfield? Caleb currently ranks third in that, with 15.2% of his passes being, who he's around? Number one is Anthony Richardson, who's no longer playing. Number two is Jordan Love, who you can do what you want with Jordan Love. I think, whatever. That's a conversation for Packers episode next week. Then you have Derek Carr at 4, Bo Nix at 5, Trevor Lawrence at 6, Justin Fields at 7. Like, that's not a group that you're super proud to be a part of. You should not be throwing the ball that deep. So, and that's multifaceted. Why is he throwing the ball that deep? Part of it's the pass concepts, and part of it is also, and I'll get to this a little later in the show, and you already mentioned it a bit, taking some of the layups and the checkdowns. Like, they have to be schemed into it, and also he has to take it.
Right. So for as much as we can criticize and say the league is eventually going to catch up, which I still believe it will to some extent with what's happening in Washington, they're the other end of the spectrum where they're very seldom, if ever, taking a ton of shots downfield. Everything's like a layup or a screen, or it's not like a bad thing, but they really focus on just letting Jaden get comfortable and be used to the NFL speed and get used to the game by doing things he's used to. Versus, for as much as I kind of appreciate what they want Caleb to do and what they're asking him to do, which is forgive my using of the term given my profession, but they're asking him to drink from the fire hose. And it's not like a fair thing to really ask a rookie, especially because rookies overall we'll have ups and downs. And we're seeing that right now, and his just feels so magnified, partially because of the expectation that was put on him.
100%.
And the pedigree of which he was drafted. Because you're talking about a guy who, for as much as we may disagree on Trevor, and not just this year, Trevor's regressed this year, but the overarching scheme of things, Trevor was in the same grouping as Caleb, and Caleb's in the same grouping as guys like Elway and Luck, and all these guys that were really, in a sense, generational, once every 6 or 7 year prospects. And it just feels like it's so much worse because of him being a part of that pedigree.
If it wasn't taking number one overall, if you're talking Drake May, right, in terms of the Patriots took him, or Bo Nix, if you want to go a little more extreme in terms of still a first round quarterback, but further down, now all of a sudden that expectation changes. And I'm not gonna lie, I was in there. And unfortunately, I think I tried to keep the whole CJ Stroud thing back, but you can't help but have it be like, ooh, could it be? Could you have a CJ Stroud like year? And then you realize and go back and realize that's not common. That's not what happens.
Right, and CJ Stroud right now looks broken.
I don't know what's going on there. That's a whole thing.
Well, that's partially because he's
also,
just getting hit.
Line's trash too.
And he's just getting hit a lot.
Yeah.
And that's a guy who while he can make certain things happen in the pocket, he is much more akin to your very old school prototypical drop back passer than he is doing things like Stafford, for instance, where it's like, okay, sure, Matt, do what you want to do, I guess.
I guess that's the throw we'll make, but you completed it. That's nuts. A couple more quotes just going to hit here a little quickly. DJ Moore was on why his on-the-field chemistry hasn't come along as quickly with Caleb Williams as it seemed to do with Justin Fields. DJ Moore said, Justin wasn't a rookie quarterback when I got here, and Caleb is a rookie quarterback. Doesn't that seem dismissive in a way?
It seems dismissive. It also seems like DJ's never had someone to take targets from him, really.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I think DJ's probably still one of the 10 to 15 best wide receivers, depending on where you want to place him in the NFL. But every good receiver has some diva to him, and DJ definitely has some of that, and that's okay. And it doesn't help that the scheme sucks and that they're losing football games right now. now, and that magnifies how everyone feels. Like if they're, I don't know, they're 4-4. If they're 6-2, it doesn't feel that way. He's probably not saying anything. I also think, for as much as we had the weird hit piece on Justin saying people didn't like him very much, and we now know that the biggest primary source of that was a shell of himself, Allen Robinson, who is mad. Justin and DJ were clearly very close. And that was very evident from the sound bites you were getting on 670 The Score from DJ Moore. It was very evident from how they interacted with each other. Those two were and probably still are relatively tight. It's like, so you're talking about a guy that, for really all intents and purposes, was force-feeding him the football. And,
100%.
and he had his statistical best year volume-wise and efficiency-wise with Justin Fields. And now he's probably on pace for one of his least productive seasons of his career, if I had to guess. Probably since his first year or two in the league. It probably doesn't feel too good. And this is fresh off a signing of a new extension. He's here for 5 more years after this year. Like,
yeah, well, if you want to catch more balls, maybe run routes 100%. Last quote that I have here, because it pisses me off, we're going to do it really quickly. Shane Waldron on Cole Kmet's non-existent target share in recent weeks. Waldron says, whether it's Cole, DJ, or Keenan, they want the ball. And those targets increase as the offense works more efficiently. Cole hasn't had the ball come his way in recent weeks, but not by intent, just how the plays have gone. That's bullshit to me. You are the offensive coordinator. If you want a play to go to Cole Kmet, you can make a play go to Cole Kmet. Yes, Caleb has to make the throw, but at the end of the day, if you want him to be truly a part of the offense, you can make that a priority.
I agree, and it's something about play callers in this city when they get frustrated. It comes off just the worst kind of way. I always go back to the Matt Nagy I formation thing.
I'm out here to run the power I, and then
runs it like out of spite. Like, oh well, if the offense is working the way I designed it, Cole's going to get the ball anyway. Like, what? Like, you literally designed the hots and the checks and the progression system. And maybe instead of going pure progression, I don't know, maybe you have them work high to low or low to high. What do I know? You know, you only are the offensive coordinator.
Well, that's in title only. I don't think, he's working with a set of crayons that's a couple crayons short. We're going to move on to training room roundup. We get to have a conversation about all the lovely injuries that the Bears are dealing with here.
Go.
So we're just going to blow through a couple. Karan, he's out calf. Calf strains are nothing to mess with. I talked about it in an episode or two ago. You can go back and listen to that if you really want, or you can tweet me on Twitter. I'll have a conversation with you about it. But basically, you don't mess with those. I want to have a little conversation with Juan Brisker, and by little, it's going to be pretty short. From my understanding, the handling of Brisker's concussion was not appropriate. That he's currently still out because of how it was handled by the staff. I'm going to leave it at that.
Was it post injury, like in the week? I know it's HIPAA. You can only go so far with what you may or may not know. Was it in the moment, like that game, or was it post, like how their handling of the rehab of the concussion?
A little bit of both, but mainly the latter.
Okay.
There is a chance as we scroll down through this, right? You got Braxton Jones, limited participant. Potentially could have played last week, but the team was like, hey, it's the Cardinals. We can beat them without Braxton Jones. We feel good about what we have with our backup left tackle. And maybe that wasn't the right choice, but Braxton Jones is limited. I expect him to play. Donald Wright did not participate. MCL probably not going to play. Could he? Maybe, but highly doubtful. Kyler Gordon, limited. Very much has a chance. I put his chance to play at 75%.
That's good. Kyler's important.
Very important. Then we have Danny's love child, Noah Sewell, did not participate all of a sudden today with a knee injury.
Shame. It's a shame.
Terrell Smith, limited, which is good to see. Just, you want to have that depth. Montez Sweat, full. His is confusing. Okay. So short aside, I don't want to spend too much time on this. Unless he was dealing with like a compartment syndrome, I'm very confused as to why essentially a bruised shin kept him out last week.
Yeah, my initial reaction was upon hearing that, just the same as you when it came out earlier today or yesterday, was the compartment syndrome thing, because compartment syndrome can happen from something as small as a calf strain or a shin injury. Mm-hmm. So, and there's nothing to mess around with. Compartment syndrome can be very detrimental to your health.
Yeah,
but to go from not playing to just fine off of a compartment syndrome, like that doesn't normally happen that way. I mean, it's good to see he's back. They clearly missed him last week, but yikes.
Keep an eye on the injury report tomorrow for Darrell Taylor. He was limited the last couple of days. The knee, probably good to go. But Tevin full, Ryan Bates full, really good chance, especially if Darnell Wright is out. You're probably going to slide Pryor out to right tackle, and then Ryan Bates would slide into your right guard.
And the offensive line still sucks.
Watch Ryan Bates put on a clinic against this. Actually,
I hope he does.
And we're going to talk about this. This Patriots defense is not the Patriots defense of definitely last year, and not even of earlier this year. I mean, now we're going to talk about this here. Kyle Duggar didn't participate. He's huge in their run game. Christian Ellis didn't participate, one of their linebackers. Marte Mapu, who I really like as their safety, was limited with a neck injury. Another one that's really important to highlight. Where are you? Sion Takitaki. I think he's a really good linebacker, and he was limited. I'm not sure if he's going to play or not. I have no idea. But him being
another
limited
one,
is a problem.
I think Keon White's an ass kicker too.
Yes, Keon White is awesome. Insane.
He's fucking awesome.
But
he was like him coming into the year was like an analytic guy. Like the film didn't really bear it out unless you were really looking for him because he didn't get home a ton. But it's like if you were looking at all the advanced metrics, it was like Willie Young years ago when the Bears signed him. It's like, well, he doesn't have great counting numbers. It's like, yeah, but you're not banking on counting numbers. You're banking on something else.
A couple of things to also highlight with this in terms of how this is going to affect this defense, how it's affecting Keon White and some of these other players here. Are the players not listed here because they're on IR, or out. So you have Christian Barrymore on the NFI list. He was their best pass rusher, and he has not been playing. Jabril Peppers is out for, I think he's suspended because he's out off the field stuff. Having those two out, I mean, that's insanely not great for this Patriots defense that has lost a lot of its bite when you have those two who are big on the run defense. Like I already mentioned, Kyle Duggar with that ankle being out. That's a problem for this team.
Mm-hmm. It's a big problem. Christian Barrymore can't be overstated. That guy's a damn good football player.
It's just like everything he does is just so important to this team, and the fact that he's not there is huge. Mm-hmm. And then you have Bill Belichick talking about how it's the same players. Why is the team worse? And it's like, it's not the same players, Bill, because there are people hurt. They're not playing.
What was it? A couple weeks ago, he was talking about he doesn't know why the weapons are so bad for Drake May. It's like, Bill, you're the reason.
You are the reason that this is so bad. All right, quick break here from our sponsors.
Proper gut health is instrumental to athletic performance and recovery. Our gut is in essence a second brain, and health researchers are continually uncovering new benefits of probiotics, scientifically connecting the dots between gut health, reduced inflammation, and stronger immunity. Kombucha Aid is a tasty, clean label, functional option to easily add probiotics into any athlete's routine. We call it balancing your brains.
Kombucha is a premium, performance-focused kombucha crafted specifically for athletes and active individuals. This revitalizing beverage blends the traditional benefits of kombucha with nutritional enhancements to support energy, hydration, and recovery. Better athletic performance, increased nutrient absorption, improved wellness, and improved cognitive stamina. All right, now we're going to dive more specifically into this matchup, kind of looking ahead at the overarching thought process for the Bears and also for the Patriots game on Sunday. What is your knee-jerk reaction, Danny?
That they kind of need this game, right? Like, if nothing else, like to not have the locker room completely fractured because it feels like it's hanging in the balance as it is. Like the way you hear these guys talking, like it doesn't take much. You don't have to have like inside information. Just listen to them talk. These guys aren't hiding how they feel. They're carefully wording how they feel, but this is a locker room very much hanging in the balance. And do I think it's ever going to get to Trestman levels? No, because there's not a volatile personality in there like Brandon Marshall was when he's yelling at Robbie Gould. And truth be told, for as weird and kooky as Flus is, he's just not a disrespected individual the way Trestman was, where these guys just did not rock with him at all. So it's hanging in the balance. This has potential to get really ugly, but it also feels like a game where they should beat up on them.
I mean, this team isn't good. I mean, the Patriots are, right. You look across the board. We just talked about the calling card for them to start the year was going to be our defense will keep us in games and Jacoby Brissett will be able to, complete an offense to get us points occasionally kind of thing. And, you've moved on from Brissett just because you want to get your rookie in there. Their defense is very hurt. So it's not the same oomph, and your receivers and your offensive line still suck. So, not great. My knee-jerk reaction, postseason conversation should more or less be over. That should not be the focus. Even technically, if mathematically the Bears are not eliminated, right? If you look at it, they still have about a 14% chance to make the playoffs, with 9 wins being the magic number to make it. The problem is how you get to 9 wins. Patriots could be a win, but then you have your division, the 49ers away and the Seahawks at home. Let's say you beat a relatively average Seahawks team in addition to the Patriots. That means you still need 3 wins in the division to get to 9 wins. And that doesn't count for things like tiebreakers and all that stuff if you look down the road. So I have a hard time. Are you going to steal a win against the Vikings? Potentially. Can you beat the Lions once? Like you should have beat them twice last year? Also potentially. But to look at the rest of this year as a, hey, let's make the playoffs thing, it's just that's not what the rest of this year should be about. It should just be on the focus of what Caleb, the continued performance of Caleb and how you keep him comfortable before you move on to the next year, where hopefully you can create a better situation around him.
I agree. This year is really just not about. It's about not letting things completely spiral, and the continued development of the young kids on the team. Caleb notwithstanding, obviously.
Yeah. Kind of in the same thought, to be perfectly honest, was this game scares me in terms of winnability, as the Patriots are kind of a wild card for me. The Bears are a little rudderless right now, and they're 1 loss from a spiral, as you mentioned. The Patriots, on the other hand, again, they just got that funkiness to them. They have no expectations. They're supposed to be bad. Most football pundits had them fighting for the worst team in the league, along with the Panthers, to start the year. Meanwhile, they're 2-7, not good, mind you, but they've beaten average teams such as the Bengals and the Jets. Defense is hurt, but it can still play. Don't get me wrong, they're not good. They got beat badly by the Jaguars, Texans, and 49ers. But with all that being said, in a game that is so tied to momentum and emotion, a team with nothing to lose, like led by, I got to keep using this term, but a wild card like Drake May, because he's just going to do Drake May things if you've been paying attention to what's been going on there. And a team like the Bears, where it just feels like when things go wrong for them, it just crashes down versus it being able to rebound. And especially after what we saw the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's hard to not agree with you there. There's just so much that hangs on this game. And you hate that a team that, if they were doing well, they were competing for a playoff spot. You hate that how far the pendulum has swung back the other way, where it's like, don't let this thing flame out and just spread and become cancerous, because it has that feel to it. Like, I don't know what to even expect other than like you're gonna get weird Flusy isms as he's talking, and you're gonna have probably the frustrating offensive sets because your offensive play caller doesn't seem to know how to adjust, at least not quickly enough. And he's just they just consistently are shooting themselves in the foot, it feels like.
Over and over and over.
And the thing that I go back to most, when you're the CEO, defensive head coach, you're not allowed to be a penalized team pre-snap. That's not allowed to happen.
Or in special teams. Like, you shouldn't be getting that many in special teams.
Yeah. Like, that's not allowed. And they are penalized pre-snap constantly, it feels like. Like,
can we talk about also for a brief moment, like last week, like what were some of the play call, the ref? I'm not a big hey blame the refs thing. There was some weird ones, like the Mercedes Lewis like false start,
it was
or
weird.
Whatever.
The low block that caused the safety. I don't think he went low. He went at his hip. Like,
yeah,
your hip is the middle of your body. Well, there were some weird ones, and I fully am with you. I'm not team blame the refs. I don't believe in that because all 32 teams believe that their team hates the ref hates their teams.
Except
if all
for
32,
the Packers,
except for the Packers, we did this on the post.
I'm going to do that every time.
Yeah, but if every fan base thinks the refs hate their team, they can't possibly hate everyone's team.
Yeah.
Like, it's like everyone who thinks Joe Buck hates their team. Joe Buck, all he does is, pump up the other team's quarterback, and he hates my team. Like, if Joe Buck hates everyone's team, doesn't he hate no one's team?
Exactly. Yeah, the hate is spread evenly. What is your, to be perfectly honest?
Honestly, I would just piggyback off of yours.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of just building upon it. There's really nothing else to be said because anything else we've been saying would be redundant upon the other week's shows. It doesn't feel like much has changed. It doesn't feel like there's been much development. We had the nice 3-week stretch, and we thought that was a nice base against the bums, where you could bum slay and beat the bad teams and make it a nice foundation to go forward on. Instead, your foundation that you built has crumbled.
Oh, how far we have fallen. And they're 4-4. It's crazy.
But this is just the Bears, man. Like, it feels so stupid to say it that way because it's a brand new roster every year. It's a brand new quarterback. It's a brand new set of expectations. But there's something so familiar about this feeling.
Well, ain't this humorous? Something quirky or funny going into this matchup. Mine is, I want to so badly think that this team is at least average and to say that they should be able to outscore a bad Patriots team. But the Patriots rank 27th in EPA per play. The Bears, 22nd. Offensive DVOA, the Patriots rank 31st. The Bears, 27th. So I just find it humorous that I thought as recently as 2 weeks ago that this team would, pummel the Patriots. But at this point, I could very easily see this being a 20-17 loss, just as much as I could see it being a 24-10 win. And I find that to be quite funny.
Yep. Ain't this humorous? I saw a graphic earlier today regarding the Bears' offensive output through this many games in the season. With Justin Fields at the helm last year, and now with the new better play caller, the new weapons, the new everything, they're averaging roughly the same amount of points and 10 yards less per game.
So here's a question for you: are you team? Why are you're comparing a quarterback that was in year 3 to a rookie, or are you in team? You, in theory, improved the pass catchers. You, in theory, improved the offensive line, yet you're still having the same output.
You, in theory, upgraded everything, right? The pass catcher is supposed to be better. The offensive coordinator is supposed to be better. The quarterback is supposed to be better. Everything is supposed to be better. This isn't a Justin Fields thing, for the record. This is an ineptitude thing because we're doing it again. It's going to happen again where you held on to the coach 1 year too long. You're going to resaddle him with a new offense in year 2. And it's just redundant. We're doing the same shit over and over again with this organization, and they won't get out of their own way. As much as I liked the Eberflus hire at the time, I'm never going to run from my take on that because I did. You should have fired him. I said it over the offseason, and then you gave him a whole new revamped staff, and this is Flus 2.0. And I was on record then when I said it now, and I still maintain it. That was Ryan Poles' second hiring. You cannot keep doing the same crap over and over again. It's the same thing I said, like, oh man, look at how much better the team is. I don't care how magical your scheme is or your receivers are. If you can't block anyone, no one matters. And they're not blocking again. It's the same thing every year right now. It's maddening, and it's like you got to laugh to keep from crying because they're repeating the same mistakes again.
Over and over and over again. That's the theme of this show. All right, quick break here, and then we're going to dive into some of our categories. We got that dog in us. Underdog is a place to play if you're a sports fan looking to win money while watching sports. With over 5 million happy players and $2 billion won, Underdog makes it fun and easy to cash in all your favorite athletes' performances. Compete against other players just by selecting higher or lower on 2 or more player stats, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money. So, turn every touchdown into a win with Underdog. I have used multiple sites and apps to enhance my game day, and Underdog is quite unique. Something pretty cool is their vulture protection. If you select a designated running back to score a touchdown in your pickup entry and they get vultured, they will rescue your entry. Every dog deserves a second chance, and with Underdog Rescues, you can get your money back and receive a promo if an early injury causes your entry to lose. With Underdog's double flex option, you can even take 2 L's and still have your entry be a win. This season, Underdog's going to be running a special promo or bonus almost every single day, like profit boosts, discounts, and free picks. Download the app today and use code CITY City to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Every player, every hair-raising touchdown, just select higher or lower on Underdog. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, 1-800-639-8783, or text NEXT STEP to 3342. New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. All right, what you need to know. Oh, I forgot I had this little soundbite. So you're going to have to listen to it. Where are you? There it is.
You know, this is not the conduct of a gentleman.
If the conduct of your officers is the measure of a gentleman, I'll take that as a compliment.
What a great movie. Before Mel Gibson lost his mind.
Did he really lose it, or did he ever have it?
No, it was probably just buried deep within him, and he finally just one day decided to blow his lid.
The Bears-Patriots rivalry has been played 15 times, including one postseason game, with the Chicago Bears winning 5 games and the New England Patriots winning 10 games. This weekend will be New England's first trip to Chicago since a 30-31 win back on October 21st, 2018. Chicago offensive coordinator Shane Waldron had a lengthy stint in New England, serving a role in football operations department from 2002 to 2004 as an offensive quality control coach in 2008 and tight ends coach in 2009. All right. Some questions I have for you leading into this matchup. How important is it that Williams looks, quote unquote, better than Drake May this weekend?
I think it's really important, not just for us as fans and like wanting him to succeed, but for himself. Like so much of it, like I always try to make analogies people can understand. Sometimes in order to just feel better, you got to see a couple completions. Like you got to see a shot go through the hoop, like just to feel like you're rolling. Now, I will say early on last week when we were starting to see like shades of like Caleb at USC and like in his Heisman year, I thought that might have been what we were getting last week against a really dreadful Arizona defense, and then ended up just going the complete opposite way. But there's no reason you shouldn't put points up on this team, man. Like,
there's no reason you shouldn't put points up against the Cardinals.
The Cardinals, right. And there's no good excuse. Now, are we going to get like Shane Waldron for all intents and purposes emptying the magazine this week, just trying to make it happen?
So by that you mean wide receiver screens and a Doug Kramer handoff? Is that emptying the magazine?
Yeah, except the Doug Kramer handoff is going to be successful by being shoved into the fat man's belly, all right?
Next question I have for you. This week, the firing of Matt Eberflus or a demotion and or firing of Shane Waldron were discussed. Both of those ideas were squashed. Does a loss here, arguably with a bad offensive output, change that next week?
I don't know. What do you think?
No, I don't.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't.
where I'm leaning. I don't think it's going to change anything, but I just wanted to make sure I wasn't alone in that thought process because
I think it's multifactorial. One being, yeah, we can keep going back to the Bears have never done it. It doesn't mean they won't ever, but they just haven't. George McCaskey hates the idea of, it's bad optics in his mind, and paying someone to sit on the couch is not something he wants to do. Also, who do you put as head coach? You don't have someone with head coaching experience. You don't really have someone that's been around for a while. Maybe Washington. And then
Hightower,
could be another one, just because special teams has their hands in all the
everything.
players, phrasing. And then in terms of Shane Waldron, the problem I think becomes if you are Eberflus and you take that away, are you just basically saying I failed to have a second offensive coordinator and are just putting the nail in your coffin, which may already be there, but now putting another nail because you're not getting a third offensive coordinator, right?
Right, but the other question is who's calling plays? Do you want Thomas Brown calling plays?
So my argument, because someone asked me, like, what's the point of moving on from Matt Eberflus, or even what's the point of moving on from Shane Waldron? Shane Waldron, for me, if it's Thomas Brown, at least it's different. Like,
Yeah.
Right now this isn't working, and so far I don't like how it's helping, or lack thereof, Caleb's progress. Can we just do something? I mean, he called plays at not just with the Panthers, but also I think University of Miami at one point. So at least he's got experience. And also, how much of the Panthers was Thomas Brown the issue, and how much of it was tiny Bryce Young?
What I'll tiny Bryce, tiny Bryce. But man, I don't know, because I could argue that he's the passing game coordinator, right? Couldn't I theoretically blame him for why the passing game concepts are so ass?
You absolutely could. And I would to say to you, I have no idea, because I don't know whose responsibilities are actually what.
Oh, God.
It goes back to Matt. How much was Helfrich in charge, and how much was who was the offensive line coach they fired because he was from Notre Dame? Before they brought him in?
Harry Hiestand.
How much was Harry Hiestand at fault for the run game in issues? I don't know. I have no idea. We're not in those meetings. We have no idea.
Right. No, and I'm with you. And I think the hardest part about this is, and I still to this very moment don't think it was a big deal that he got up in front of everybody and said, "Hey, I know what's wrong. Like, I'm gonna fix it. I'm going to change." Like, there's nothing wrong with taking accountability. The problem is when you do that and the problems persist, it makes you look like a moron.
Correct. Absolutely.
Like, there's no issue with taking responsibility and saying it's going to get better, but then it doesn't get better. It makes you look like a buffoon.
To those who question what letting Matt Eberflus go would do, I raise you the Raiders. Right? They let Josh McDaniels go. That locker room did a celebration within themselves, and they won a lot of games and actually did fairly well to end the year there. That's what I think could happen here, especially because I don't think it's just there's a loss of the locker room. And when that's happening, if whoever you put up there, let's say it's Hightower, and then you say, you know what, Thomas Brown, great, now you have charge of calling plays. Even if you still end up only winning, let's say 2 division games, but is there a chance that it's better for Caleb's development and for all these other guys that are going to be in the locker room next year to not have to just go through this for the entire year?
And I'm with you, especially because I think you and I both agree. You don't want them to lose games to ensure he's gone.
Yeah.
Because there's and I believe it for basketball, I believe it for football, I believe it for like really any of the major sports. I get the culture is supposed to be the quarterback in this sport. But when you tell these grown men it's okay to lose games, you're setting a precedent that it's okay. And it's not okay. You don't want this to become part of their DNA. And that was the same thing I was saying last year when everyone was like, well, you're going to lose your top whatever pick and you might lose your shot at Roma Odunze. And it didn't happen, obviously. But it's you need to eventually start winning football games. It was the same thing I said about the 76ers years ago. It's it's great to tank 3 straight seasons. You got Joel Embiid, you got Ben Simmons, and you got Jahlil Okafor, who's now, I think, playing overseas. But, at a certain point, when do you decide it's okay to win? This was supposed to be the okay to win time, and now you're seeing it again from the fan base of, we need Ibra. Does this fan base even know how to want to win? Is my question.
I think you'll probably see a shift after this game. If and when they beat the Patriots, all of a sudden it's all right, is there a chance? It'll shift. The problem is Bears fans are battered and they don't know how to be.
No, we suffer from battered partner syndrome with this franchise. It's the most unhealthy relationship. No. A Chicago sports fan has an unhealthy relationship with all their favorite teams. It's very, very unhealthy. We all keep going back to our abusers. But
a couple quick questions here before we move on to our love it, hate it. For you, what does a good defensive outing look like for the Bears against a not good offense of the Patriots?
Beat them down.
Right. I'm thinking you need to hold them under 10 points. That's a good outing against this team.
Yeah, 10, 13 points, I think, is the maximum that should be let up.
Yeah. What would the Bears have to do this week, if anything, to make you think they have a chance going forward to make some noise in the division?
There's nothing you can do to convince me you can make noise in this division.
That is the right answer. That is the correct. In my opinion, that's the correct answer.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do.
This game is just a checkbox that you do it, and then you say, all right, what the heck happens against the Packers next week? That's it.
Even Caleb going nuclear for 404 touchdowns.
My brain, I heard 404. I'm like, that's a lot of touchdowns.
He's just yeeting the ball up all over the place.
Every single throw, a touchdown. All right. Love it, hate it, rehabilitate it. This is, a matchup, a specific dynamic that we love for the Bears when we hate. One that if we were the coach, we would rehabilitate, fix it up. For me, I think it has to be the Bears' pass defense, which, yes, there's still some injured individuals, but defensive line in particular, if Sweat can go, versus the Patriots' offensive line. Bears are still banged up in the secondary, but May has not shown proficiency or consistency as a passer. And overall, this is a very weak pass catching unit. The Patriots' offensive line is quite bad, especially the interior. So you should be able to generate pressure on the interior and the ends. And then you still have Jalen Johnson. You still have Bird has been very good, I think, at safety. Yes, Brisker's not going to be there, but Elijah Hicks has actually been solid back there. There's a couple things I wish differently for him, especially more in terms of some run defense, but passing, he's been fine. You should be able to control this Patriots passing offense.
I would agree with that.
What do you love?
That was actually my love.
Look at that.
Yep. So,
well,
to our 8 listeners or whoever is in here, we don't swap notes before we get on this show. we show up and just kind of talk. We each write down our own stuff, or for in my case, I use my notes app when I'm going through the outlines. But we don't send each other what we're thinking.
It just happens to be the same a lot.
Mm-hmm.
What's your hate?
Honestly, with how good Ramondre Stevenson can be, despite his limitations with the foot, given what happened last week in the run game, and Andrew Billings' now absence from it, Ramondre Stevenson's a really talented, good running back. And he could be a problem if you let him start to work himself into a lather, as it were.
Something annoying, I had the exact same thing. I had the Bears defense versus Patriots run game. A couple of stats for you, though. May's running ability has actually been on full display since he took over as the team's starter. He had 95 yards on his scrambles last week against the Titans, and his 141 rushing yards over the last 2 games is the best in team history by a quarterback. If May runs for at least 40 yards in Chicago, he'll become the first Patriots quarterback to have 3 straight games with at least 40 yards rushing. And then speaking of Stevenson, he has scored 2 touchdowns in each of the last 2 games, rushing in a pair of scores against the Jets in Week 8 and contributing with a rushing and receiving score. It was a really crazy game-tying touchdown last week in the Titans. If he scores 2 touchdowns this week, he'll be the first Patriots player with at least 2 touchdowns in 3 straight weeks since Randy Moss's 3-game streak in 2007. If Stevenson scores a rushing touchdown this week, he'll be the first Patriot with a rushing touchdown in 3 straight games since Damian Harris in 2022.
Pretty good list of names there.
It's a combination of they're actually pretty good running the ball right now, and the Patriots just also are weird. Their history is just odd. Rehabilitate. Yes. What would you want to fix going into this week?
The passing game concepts and what they're asking them to do. Please just start. Can we just get something easy that's not like a screen to Gerald Everett or DeAndre Swift? Like, can we get something easy built in where, oh, the high-low concept isn't there. Here's your check down waiting in the flat. Just get some easy buttons built in where you're not trying to make him work through every progression to find what's open because you don't have the time. You don't have the horses to run the Earhart-Perkins system, which he's clearly trying to run some rendition of. This isn't the Sean McVay concepts and stuff that we're used to seeing. This is very much classic, almost like 7-Eleven brand McDaniels concepts they're trying to do from his time with New England, and it's just not working.
There's just so much I hate about how this offensive is designed. I've talked about it before. I don't need to go into it again, but I agree there. It needs to be fixed. Okay, this is going to be a little controversial. Rehabilitates. I need Caleb to put the cape on the mantle for the remainder of the season. This year was supposed to be, Caleb, distribute the ball to your weapons, let them work, and let your defense give you breathing room. Grow, develop. Every once in a while, when you need to do a crazy Caleb play, you do a crazy Caleb play. The problem is it has seeped into, I as in Caleb, need to do a crazy Caleb play just to get the ball downfield, it feels like. As a part of that, no part of this also falls in the offensive scheme you already mentioned being an issue. Play design is an issue. Issues in the O-line, lack of separation at times from these weapons. But the last game, there are a couple examples of him not taking the layups that we talked about. I have 2 examples I want to run through. One was in the first quarter on 1st and 10. All 5 Bears pass catchers run routes. Meanwhile, Arizona sends an extra rusher. This is a play to get the ball out really fast. Caleb first looks to Kmet, who's running a quick hitch in the middle of the field. If he puts the ball on Kmet's right shoulder with anticipation, 5-yard gain. He turns that down, looks to row in the flat, and yes, there is pressure a bit, but now you're in 2nd and long and an incomplete pass. The second example I have, in second quarter, they're down Arizona's 37-yard line with 56 seconds left, and the Bears have all 3 timeouts. Caleb gets sacked instead of dumping it to a wide-open Roschon Johnson on a check down. That would have been 5 to 10 yards. You add in that, he ran into the sack. That was the Fieldzian sack you mentioned earlier. And, it's a pretty rough play. It was 14-6 at this point. So you dump off with 3 timeouts, gets you to 2nd and short, or even potentially 1st down. Now all of a sudden you're winding time off the clock, maybe you get a touchdown, or at a minimum you're potentially preventing him from getting that ridiculous run that the Cardinals got to near the end of the half there. So I just need Caleb to play in structure a bit more. But I'm asking him a lot of him. I want him to play in structure. Take the easy ones. Take the check down to your running back. Take just the slants. He's looking off it too much for the big play, and I think it's because he feels he has to hit the big play because he needs 12, 20 yards of play in order just to get the ball downfield because of the offensive infrastructure. It
can be both, though, right? He has to learn when there is an easy button built in and it's there to take it. It's okay. That's got to be coached into him. But it's also on the fact that there's nothing easy. The offense really only moves when Caleb is doing USC versions of Caleb.
It's a tough middle to play because you're absolutely right. It can be both.
Right. I don't know.
All right. X factor for the Patriots. What do you got?
Ramondre. I don't think there's anywhere else you can go. There's not a weapon you can rely on for them at all. You could say Drake May, but a rookie quarterback's best friend is an efficient running game and defense. So
Mine's a little more global. I said anarchy and win the emotional battle. Just because
Anarchy.
this Bears team is like on the precipice. I think if the Bears don't start off hot in this game, if they get the ball first, they go 3 and out for the sake of argument. The Patriots are able to run the ball and go. They were up 7-0. That could be enough where all of a sudden this team is just done, shut down.
Checks out.
So yeah, if the Patriots can just beat them emotionally, that they can win this game. X factor for the Bears. I have, and this is, you actually talked about this a little bit earlier, but as weird as it sounds, reduce your average depth of target. Right? We all want to have deep balls, but at the same time, you can't live like that. Bears ranked 10th in the NFL in average depth of target. According to Lauren Cox at Cox Sports 1, Keenan Allen's average depth of target, as you said, is a career-long 11.2. Again, that is a career-long, even that he is slowed down, cannot separate as much. Meanwhile, DJ Moore's is 9.8, which is the lowest since 2018. Weird. To me, this goes back to my Caleb point to an extent, right? You got to take the layups, but they also have to be appropriately schemed into it. I do not need a 15 to 20 yard corner route from Keenan Allen being the first read. Doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I agree.
X factor for the Bears on your end.
It's almost going to piggyback off of what your X factor of the Patriots was. It's going to be to me, it's almost like the coaching staff on the whole. Can you get the locker room back to where they were to start the season, especially during that 3-game stretch when everyone was clearly very much buying into the hits philosophy thing and whatever, and can you basically make them believe again? Like, can you dial up your concepts the way they're supposed to be dialed up? Can you wrangle your offensive game plan in and really try to refine it to what's great? Or not what's great, but what's working. I still don't know what works with regularity for them. It's just stuff.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. This team doesn't have identity. I couldn't tell you.
Right. And we're I know I sound like a broken record, but it's I need to know what to quote Semi-Pro, what's the puke? The play that Jackie Moon and the Tropics could run every time to know they could get an open look. What's the puke play?
Shane Waldron thinks it's a screen to DJ Moore.
Oh boy. Or outbreakers. Just lots of outbreakers.
Just run out. When in doubt, run it out. Over-unders. All right. Caleb Williams' completion percentage, 70%.
Under.
I almost hit it lower. So his career so far is 61.4. He had a 79.3 against the Jaguars. But, Cardinals 53.7, Commanders 41.7. Drake May touchdowns accounted for 1.5.
Over, 1 passing, 1 running.
Ooh, 14 points. I don't know if the Bears can keep up. Ramondre Stevenson rushing yards, 55.5.
Over. I think they're going to lean on him.
I hope so. He's on at least 2 of my fantasy teams. Cole Kmet targets, 5.5.
Under.
I hate living here. This house sucks.
This house is a prison.
Just throw it to your good freaking play. It's at this point, it's almost like Shane Waldron's I'm making a point. I know you want me to do this. I'm not doing this. I can win without it. And then it doesn't work. Last one here. Bears points at the end of the first quarter. 10.5.
Under.
Unfortunately, you're probably
They have
right.
never started the game with a lead.
Yeah.
They have not started a game this year with a lead. That's not me being facetious. That's an actual factoid.
And I don't see why that would all of a sudden change this week, to be completely honest. All right, Bear gut check. We use our gut feelings, revitalized by kombucha, of course, to give our game predictions against the line. We start with New England Patriots at the Chicago Bears. Bears favored by 6.5. I always remind people, I grabbed these yesterday. I'm busy on Thursdays, so if the lines changed, oh well.
So, for all the doom and gloom the show has been, which we are sorry, friends. If you need Zoloft following our show, I think the Bears win handily. I think they hold them to that 10, 14, 17-point area. And I think they get some points. And I don't think it's just going to be all offense. I could see the defense really rallying because there's a point of pride, especially on defense, where it's like you get someone like Kyler back, let's say. You get Montez back. Like, I think there's going to be a rallying of sorts, not around the coaching staff, but around, like, you're not doing this to me again. Like, does that make sense?
No, I hear you. I hear you. Every fiber of my being wants to just doom and gloom and say the Bears lose this game, but I think you're right. I think at the end of the day, they're too skilled, and you are getting things. You're getting emotion back. You're getting Montez Sweat back. You might get Kyler back. This defense, you lost Billings, but this defense is still good. You're getting
this defense still is one of the best in the league. They had one bad outing,
right? You're getting back Braxton on the line. There's just too much talent here, and you're at home, so you don't have the curse of the Eberflus road woes.
Fleeberus.
So I'll take the Bears to cover. Not happy about it, but yeah. Tonight's game.
Don't listen.
The Cincinnati Khalil Herberts at the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens are favored by 6.5.
Ravens cover.
Just easy. The Ravens are just a juggernaut of an offense, and the Bengals have an atrocious defense.
Are they the best team in football right now?
Yes, hands down.
Lamar's winning number 3, right?
If he doesn't, it's only because of like
Lamar fatigue.
Yeah,
yeah.
But he deserves it.
I was talking about this with a friend of mine. They could conceivably have the MVP and Offensive Player of the Year on the same team because Derrick Henry might go for 2,000 yards again.
God, that'd be cool. I'm down for that. I would. A Ravens.
I'm down for it because they're my. Yeah, I'm down with it because they're my second team.
Man, mine too.
Yeah, so we need to stop.
I can't help it. The colors are so cool. Harbaugh's cool.
When I was a kid, my mom said I wanted to be a Ravens fan because I thought the purple and black was cool.
It's just a great look. And then they got cooler with Derrick Henry. Like, the vibes in that team are just awesome.
And Harbaugh is the man. And I've been I'm a Louisville football fan. So I've had Lamar in my life since he was a child coming out of Miami to go play for the Cardinals. So it's pretty cool.
Pretty damn cool. A game we're watching just for draft stuff. New York Giants versus the Carolina Panthers in Germany. The Giants are favored by they're favored by 5.5 points. You don't have to watch it, but you have to pick it.
Giants are favored by 5.5. Giants win, but the Panthers cover.
Yeah, people forget the Giants still aren't good. The Minnesota Vikings at the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Vikings are favored by 4.5.
Vikings cover and win.
Mac Jones will be quarterbacking the Jaguars too. So I'm sure that line changed since that came out. I'm sure it's much worse. San Francisco 49ers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The 49ers are favored by 5.5.
I think the 49ers lose.
Oh, okay.
I have a weird opinion on the 40. I think they're a good football team. I think they're a fatigued football team.
Christian McCaffrey's supposed to make his debut. Does that change?
No.
No? Okay.
There's a lot. So you play that much football that many years in a row without again, as good as I think Brock Purdy is for what he is. I think Brock Purdy's really, really good, and it's perfect for what they want to do. But sans having a guy like Brady, Mahomes, Manning, one of your really, really good football players, they've played a lot of football the past 3 years. And it's just, it's a lot of beatings on your body, right? And I can't imagine, even with McCaffrey coming back, that he's going to, be on, some sort of full-time rep count, right? He's got to be more.
I would think he'd be limited, yeah. You also, last week you beat the Cowboys, but you barely beat them. It was 30-24. The Cowboys suck. The 49ers feel like they're running on gas. They need some infusion of some youth on that team, and they just don't have it right now. Okay, and then lastly, the Sunday night game, Detroit Lions at the Houston Texans. The Lions are only favored by 3.5.
That feels like such an easy cover for the Lions to win. And dude, the things the Lions are doing right now, they are styling on teams, and it's awesome. Like
They're
Jared
just
Goff's
messing
playing,
around.
Jared Goff's playing the best football of his career, and I will forever be a David Montgomery fanboy.
Yep.
So seeing him thrive and do well, and the relationship him and Jahmyr Gibbs clearly have with each other, it's fun. And
It's
I could
Sonic
not.
and Knuckles to you, sir.
So he's Sonic, right? Because he's really fast.
Montgomery?
He's Sonic,
Yeah,
right?
sure. We could play that game. It's not true, but we could say it.
The only thing I will say on the note of Montgomery and the superpower he has, for some of the hits and ways his body got contorted in ways that should break any other football player, for him to just kind of like be Wolverine and just not get hurt or miss significant time was always amazing to me.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember he had a groin strain, and by most accounts, he should have been out 2-3 weeks. He missed no time, none whatsoever.
I remember the knee injury he had where it's like his shin and knee went straight down, but he stayed straight up. And it was like he popped back up. Like that's not supposed to happen. You're supposed to be writhing in pain.
It's insane. Just to explain that line, my guess is the Texans they are 6-3. They're actually 4-0 at home, which, and I think there's still some CJ Stroud love that's out there that people just kind of don't realize he's not playing the best. But something that's interesting: the Texans, 201 points for, 200 points against. They're +1. You compare that to the Lions, they're 258 points for and 148 points against, and they're 4-0 away.
So that's what, +110, right? Like my numbers isn't off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
110.
That's a big plus minus.
It's insane.
And while we're mentioning the Lions, we did have the Benjamin Albright report. For as much as I do wonder with the Ben Johnson thing, like if the Bears would pony up the price tag he would have. Ben Johnson did, or not Ben Johnson, Ben Albright did say that Ben Johnson would be their ideal choice, and that's who he would be. That's who Ben Johnson would probably want as the Bears' job.
And then you had Adam Schefter come out today and just piss on everyone and say, well, you know what? I'm not really sure. Like the Bears are dysfunctional. I don't know why he would choose them. But also at the same time, he's going to be very sought after. So there's going to be like 8 teams that look for him, but not all 8 are going to get interviews.
Yeah. Not all 8 have that quarterback prospect, though.
And I don't put anything to that comment, to be quite honest, by Schefter. Like,
no,
I think that's him putting his point of view out there. And he's mentioning the Bears specifically because right now Bears fans are all hot and bothered and tweeting about and talking about Ben Johnson.
Sure. And it's also just, for better or for worse, these guys' sources are agents. You can't just outright say, as the preeminent insider, like, oh yeah, Bears are the leader in the clubhouse, bar none right now.
Yeah.
That hurts his numbers.
I put no stock into it. All right. We are going to do one more category, a Cox and Bull story. We're not going to do offensive player of the game. We're not going to do defensive. We're not going to do King of the North because the Bears don't deserve those categories. They need to prove that they're actually a fucking football team and beat the Patriots until we do that. So what is your bold prediction?
I just think they blow their doors off. Honestly, like I think you're going to get a defensive performance. I think you're going to get Caleb kind of like there's nothing I loved more like the last couple of years, I'll say, like than the early stuff with Caleb where he was doing the ice in his veins thing after the Keenan Allen touchdown.
What a time. That's like a lifetime.
Or even like last year when like Justin would get rolling and he did like the air guitar celebration. Like I want to see a quarterback stunting on people. Really, like that's what I want. Like that would be nothing makes me happier than seeing that because I love flamboyant, like super celebratory athletes. That's why the NBA is so great because you get the bench reacting to things that are awesome, you get the players reacting to each other. Like when you get that in the NFL, that's why I'm having so much fun. I don't like the Lions. I'm a Bears fan, obviously. I do a Bears podcast with you, but seeing them
but they're fun though.
They're fun, man. It's the same thing with Lamar. Lamar is one of the most fun players in league history. Like,
all right, I will go with DJ Moore gets 7 receptions for 30 yards and a touchdown.
Ooh, big DJ Moore day.
I just think my guess is that, especially after some of the conversation that's had this week, and if they have a big day, if the opportunity presents itself, Caleb's going to go out of his way to get DJ the ball and just be like, look, we're fine. Everything's fine.
Speaking of PSA to Shane Waldron, running in breakers and stuff over the middle where you catch him in stride to let him use his very good athleticism at that size and build is good.
It's good stuff.
Letting him use this momentum. What is he, a 215-pound wide receiver? That's a big dude running really fast. Typically, when you let the big man who runs really fast start to move, like good things typically happen.
But instead, you have him running hitches and out routes where that's not his game. His feet stop and, plays dead after a 6-yard game. This is where we live. All right, that's all we got for this episode. Again, Danny said it earlier. As much dour as it has been in terms of conversation, they should win this game, and I would expect them to win this game. Now, if they do, Bears Nation, please don't get all hot and bothered over it. Take it as a step where, all right, you beat a team you should beat. Let's reset and see what the heck happens against the Green Bay Packers. But I don't know that I can personally even take the Jekyll and Hyde-ness that is this team and the expectations for it.
Agreed.
All right. Any last words before we get out of here?
Enjoy Thursday Night Football. Enjoy your weekends. And enjoy the good weather while it's still here, even though what the good weather is deriving from might not be good for us in the long term.
And then in terms of the post-game show, I will actually be going to the Patriots game. My mom won tickets for some car thing. I don't know. They're not great seats. But if you're going to be at the game, I'll be there. Hit me up. But yeah, that means the post-game show, I have to leave Soldier Field, get back here to do the show. So it's probably going to be closer to like 5 o'clock or something like that. So keep that in mind if you are trying to catch the post-game. Bear down, everyone.
Enjoy the game, Mason. See you guys later.
Yeah.